Welcome to the Pitbull Patti Show. I'm your host, Patti Stueckler. We're keeping it real here with straight talk and sharing true stories that will inspire you to change your life. Are you ready for this? Because here we go. How do you feel when you think about Christmas? Do you get all really happy inside, or do you feel like bah humbug? My guest today is all about Christmas and keeping the Christmas spirit alive all year long. She happens to be a professional caroler. Who knew? I had no idea they even existed. She's the founder and director of I Smile in New York Productions and the fabulous Fezziwigs, which is a group of Broadway talented vocal musicians. She promotes the importance of Christmas on national radio shows as well as TV appearances, including on ABC, Fox News, and The View. It's my honor and privilege to introduce Renee Baker. Welcome, Renee.
Thank you, Patti. It's great to be here with you.
I wore red just for you today for Christmas.
You look beautiful in red. Very festive.
Yeah, I don't wear red that often, but I thought, well, I'm going to be talking to Renee Baker today, so I got to wear red in honor of Christmas. And I've got so many questions to ask you as a professional caroler, because I'm really curious about it, especially now that we're getting close to Christmas. But I just first got to tell you in full disclosure that I really hate Christmas. I'm kind of one of those people that I hate to tell you that, but for me, the association with Christmas is like shopping and cooking, which I don't cook, by the way. So it's usually other people coming to my house with a bunch of dishes, but I still got to clean. I got to shop for a huge amount of people because I'm one of 7 and my husband's one of 6, and they don't seem to understand the concept of a Chinese Christmas where you gift exchange. So I end up buying like 80 presents every year, and it's just like, oh my God,
No wonder.
Yeah. I can't stand it. And in fact, this year, I told my husband, I said, you know what? I'm so done with all this. I said, you're gonna have to buy all the Stueckler side. I'll buy the Haley side, which is my maiden name, and I'll take care of my side. You take care of your side because that's let's even the load here. So he was like, okay. And a couple days ago, yeah, I was kind of surprised. But a couple days ago, he said, I came up with the best gifts. I got. I'm good. I know what I'm going to get all my family. I'm like, great. What are you going to get them? He said, I'm going to give them money. And I'm like, well, oh, really? You're going to give them all money? And he was like, yeah. And I said, well, all right. Well, we're getting close to Sunday, which is when we're going to celebrate Christmas with the Stueckler side, and so an early Christmas. And so all his nieces and nephews will be there, and his dad and his stepmom. And I said, well, John, you got to get these Christmas, the envelopes to, put the money in, our names on them and all that. And you still got to buy a gift for your dad, because you're not going to give your dad money. And I said, so you got to do all this. And he goes, no, I got it all planned out. I'm just going to bring a bunch of money, and I'm just going to make it rain. They can just they can all run around picking up money somewhere and fight for it. I'm like, you're totally crazy. It's not going to work.
So all these years, you've been putting all this care and effort and thought into 80 gifts. And the first year he has to do it, he finally realizes what an effort it is, first of all. But he doesn't seem to understand that it's really more about thinking about each person that you're shopping for or gifting, and the thought and the care and the love and the joy that you put behind that gift is really what the gift is.
I guess I don't know if he quite understands that, but
I don't think he. Well, I sympathize with you, and I know that you are far from alone. There's a lot of people out there who they get overwhelmed and tense, and Christmas turns out to be, like Sunday mornings when many people are going to church, right? They say it's the most unholy day of the week because of, the swearing and the rushing and the, opposite of love that's going on, before they go to church. And, it's kind of the same thing. We put so much pressure around the holiday. And truly what the gifts of the holiday are, is what I said, is the thought, the inclusiveness, the togetherness, and just being with each other, showing each other that you care about each other, and including each other in our joy. That's really it. That's why, I mean, I like wrapping presents and putting all the bows on it, but that's because I really like making the special bows. For me, that's part of the gift, and I know that my family really kind of expect that from me, or they really like that. It means something to them that I would dress up a present so much for them. You know, I could have a pair of socks in that box, you know, but it's so pretty, and they really like that effort, you know, and I think you're right about the cards and the envelopes. If, you know, there's money's okay, but you got to put that little extra effort, show that you know, put some love and thought into it.
Well, for me, I mean, it's just, the last time I really enjoyed Christmas, I think I was 12, because I didn't do anything. I just showed up, and, you know, the presents were all done for me. Like, my mom and dad, you know, my mom actually did everything. And so it was like very exciting and wonderful, and I could hardly sleep the night before and all those things. But it's like now, it's like that. I'm the furthest thing from Martha Stewart that I think you can be. Like, I'm like a polar opposite. I'm more like a man when it comes to like decorating and cooking. And, although some men cook, and that's great. I wish. Well, in fact, John, if he didn't cook, he wouldn't eat. So he either cooks or we go out to eat. But I mean, I like Thanksgiving because it's like what you were just describing. To me, sounds like Thanksgiving. How I feel about Thanksgiving, where all you got to do is have a potluck with family. You show up, and they usually show up at my house, and everybody brings a dish, and it's like cool because you play games, and you know, have this great meal.
I've heard a few people say that.
Yeah, no pressure. There's like, I don't have to worry about decorating.
Togetherness.
Yeah,
sharing meals, sharing a game, getting together. Yeah, over the river and through the woods. Right.
Yeah, so it's your job to sell me on why Christmas is better than Thanksgiving. Because no pressure.
Well, gosh, no one's ever asked me why it's better than Thanksgiving. I do think that we should take that feeling from Thanksgiving and apply it to Christmas, because, you know, Christmas has gotten out of control with the, you know, what people seem to not like, and I'm on board with this, is the commercialism. I mean, the worst thing I've seen is Black Friday. You know, one year my carolers, I'll get back to your question, I promise, but one year my carolers were hired to be at these two, I won't mention the name of the store, but a high-end, you know, kind of store that you would see at an outlet, and in two different outlet malls. And we got there at 11 o'clock p.m. on Thanksgiving, and we started at midnight. And oh, the humanity. It was horrifying. People, there was a line, there were security guards, and people were still, there was such a mob, people were stealing things under their coats, and the security guards, you know, they had too much on their plate, they couldn't stop them. Fights were breaking out in the parking lot. I mean, it was the opposite of Christmas spirit. And there was a line of cars 6 miles down the highway waiting to get in to the parking lot at 4 in the morning as I was driving away. It was horrible, and it was just like, this is not, we were there to bring the feeling of Christmas there, but I felt really ineffective there. But so anyway, your question, what's so great about Christmas? Well, what's so great about Christmas, in my book, the holiday itself really is about a gift that was given to show God's love. And it wasn't just for one special group of people. It was for everybody, whoever wants it. And what I think is special about the whole season is that there's tremendous potential to add to the world peace with the joy and the spirit of the season. There is this spirit of the season. Look, my caroling company, every year I've got about 30 of us in these Victorian costumes, or not, you know, and we go out like this. Now, I've got a really diverse group of carolers. Of course, I've got Christian carolers, but I have Jewish carolers, Buddhist carolers. I have at least one atheist caroler. I'm always going for more diversity. But here's the important thing. We all, as diverse as we are, recognize this palpable spirit of the season. We love it. It fortifies us. We share the... We hold ourselves accountable to the hallmarks of it. What are those? Charity, generosity, including other people in our joy, connecting with people. We all feel it. And it brings us a lot of joy. And so if we are tapping into that, and that doesn't have to do with buying stuff. It doesn't have to do with the ribbons and the bows. It's like Grinch at the end of the story, you know? It's something deeper than that. It's this connectivity with each other. And if we would just concentrate on that and include everybody and not feel petty about what's being taken away from us. I mean, you know, I think that some of the negativity that we hear about when people take issue with the word, you know, happy holidays, the term happy holidays rather than Merry Christmas. I mean, not everybody celebrates Christmas. So, and if we don't, on both sides, people who don't celebrate Christmas, some people aren't going to want to say Merry Christmas, but some people are. If they know you celebrate Christmas, they'll say. I've got lots of Jewish friends who have no problem wishing Merry Christmas to people they know celebrate Christmas. Just like I have no problem saying Happy Hanukkah to people who I know celebrate Hanukkah. But the thing is, we don't know who is celebrating, you know, Eid or pagan holidays or, you know, a Hanukkah or just the solstice. You know, there's so many things that people are celebrating together, and it's really beautiful that we can share that joy together.
Well,
That's what I think is.
yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I feel like it's one of those things where the word Christmas, I mean, it's not a generic word. It is about Christ, and you know the things that you've seen before, I'm sure, where it says keep Christ in Christmas. I feel like that's getting lost somewhere, and I understand what you're saying about inclusion and about diversity and all of that, and I think that's great. And I've heard over the years that a lot of Jewish people have, you know, they're not offended by all the years of Merry Christmas. People saying Merry Christmas to them, even if they don't realize that they're Jewish or whatever. But at the same time, I'm personally leery that, you know, if you start taking, you know, Christ out of Christmas and stop saying Merry Christmas, then that's a slippery slope to in the attempt to be so diverse and so inclusive. I understand the desire for that. Don't get me wrong. I understand that totally. And I respect other cultures. I respect, you know, Kwanzaa and Ramadan and all the things that the different traditions and holidays and spiritual you know, holidays of different religions. But at the same time, for all the millions of Christians out there, I feel like, well, if I can't say Merry Christmas, and I'm not saying that you're saying I can't say Merry Christmas, but if it's taken out of and watered down, let's put it that way, watered down is probably a good way to describe everything, so that now you can say Santa Claus, although now I just was reading the other day, there's a lot of places they don't even want to say Santa Claus anymore, like because that's Saint Nick or whatever, and that has a Christian religious
I haven't heard that one yet.
Connotation, and it's like we're getting crazy. The PC police are out of control. That's just my opinion. I feel like it's you know, I applaud what you're doing in the sense that it's you're wanting, I'm seeing, to share the whole Christmas spirit all year long, and also from the psychological standpoint, sounds like what you're doing on that front. But at the same time, I don't know about this whole, I don't like personally the happy holidays or the winter concerts. It's a Christmas concert. You know what I mean? I don't know. And if it's a Jewish day school, then it's a, you know, it's not a Christmas concert. Then it's a, you know, then it's a Hanukkah, you know, festival or whatever.
You know, I know a lot of people feel the same way. Now, as far as watering down Christmas, I don't know if I would call that watering down Christmas, is changing the name of events where it's not just people who celebrate Christmas, because the month of December, the winter holidays, there's several of them. It's not just Christmas. And the Christmas concerts, look, I remember when I grew up in a very homogeneous town out in the Midwest. Outside of the 2 Jews and the 1 atheist I was aware of, I wasn't aware of knowing anyone who wasn't some sort of a Christian. That's how homogeneous it was. And we had our Christmas concert in our public school. But I remember one year, this was back in the late 70s, maybe early 80s, but I think it was in the late 70s, our public school system decided to change the name of our Christmas concert to the more inclusive winter concert. I don't remember anybody complaining about it back then. But I have been noticing this trend more and more through the years where people are getting upset about it and they feel like something's being taken away from them. And what I have seen and discovered, at least in some cases, is that we need to just examine more, what is it that we care about? I mean, Christmas is a word that, like, look, I get it. We've got our Christmas, what I call holiday triggers. They're sense memories for us, that we're sentimental about what Decembers looked like in our childhoods. We loved that. Like you said, up to age 12, you just had this beautiful Christmas experience. And so we're sentimental about that. And I believe that the word Christmas is one of those spirit triggers. Now, what is it? If it's important to us, is it really that you feel that Christ is being taken out of the holiday if we say winter concert rather than Christmas concert? I mean, I know that in these winter concerts, you've got songs being sung that are Christian. You probably have a Hanukkah one. You probably have a non-holiday specific one or two in there as well. And so, it's sharing the joy. I mean, when we tell people, when we make a lot of noise about having to, we feel like we're not supposed to say Merry Christmas anymore. And by the way, I don't believe that that's true. I believe that you can say Merry Christmas. You can, and most people are not even going to be offended by it. It's just that when it comes to these bigger events where more people are included, you want to make them, even if you're Christian, then in the name of Jesus, you want these people to be included in your joy by making noise about saying, we have to call it Christmas, or we have to make you feel like Christmas is the dominant winter holiday and everything's got to be called Christmas. You're actually pushing people away from the true spirit of Christmas. Whereas by being inclusive, we invite them in and we share what's beautiful about Christmas. By making a lot of noise about not wanting it to be anything but Christmas, we're pushing them away. And I think that's the opposite of what we want to do as Christians. I'm a Christian. I read recently about, there was this town that shall remain nameless out in the Midwest somewhere. And they started out very much like the town that I grew up in. And very homogeneous. But look, migration has happened. I like to say migration, not that other word, because it's too much of a hot button issue. But migration has happened almost everywhere, and including that town. So now they had their annual event, right? Let's call it the Christmas stroll, the Christmas whatever. But because so much migration had happened and they had such more diversity now, that the Chamber of Commerce decided that they wanted to change the name to something like Winter Stroll, to be more inclusive and include everybody in the town in the joy of this beautiful event. Well, you see what's coming. A lot of the town merchants got all up in arms about it. And one of them said that she was afraid that by taking the word Christmas out of the title, that it would become just a generic festival. She said, we've got carolers on the streets and Christmas trees, and I'm afraid that those things will be taken away and it'll just become like an ordinary festival. So, she's afraid. This other one said, if you can't celebrate Christmas, I'm not going to support the event or the chamber. The chamber wants us to donate and sponsor a tree, but I will not. I will take a stand and I will have Merry Christmas all over my store, inside and out. And I'm like, that's not the spirit of Christmas in my book. Anyway, and what's happening anyway? The town didn't say they can't carol. The town didn't say they can't celebrate Christmas. They're not even taking away the tradition of the trees. In fact, they're continuing the tradition of the trees and the sponsorship of them by the local merchants. And it's those local merchants who don't want these things to go away who are taking a stand and not sponsoring the trees. So it becomes an angry scenario there that pushes people away from the joy and the love of Christmas. Whereas now you've got people who don't celebrate Christmas. Look, like I said, I've got carolers who are not Christian. They celebrate other holidays, but they love Christmas. They see the joy in Christmas. They carol. They're singing about Jesus every year with me. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And if you want to spread a message, if you want to keep Christ in Christmas, I think it's more about showing compassion and inclusiveness. And you can be doing it in his name. I think that's how you keep Christ in Christmas, more than how you give a holiday greeting. And I'm not saying you can't say Merry Christmas, but I think that keeping Christ in Christmas is more about how you show the love and compassion than how you give a holiday greeting or how you react to the government getting involved in your holiday celebrations.
Well, I think I totally understand your sincerity, and I think you're extremely sincere about how you feel about this topic. And I'm sure you've given it a lot of thought, because you talk about Christmas a lot, all the time. But and I don't. But at the same time, I think that woman who said about the tree and the Christmas, the women you were describing in the town that took a stand, blah blah blah. It's not that she was taking a stand against any other group or ethnicity or whatever religion. She was taking a stand for her own. And this is my opinion, I think words do matter. And I think that I understand what you're saying about, like, it's about the Christmas spirit and all those wonderful things. But if no one ever really commercially or publicly, other than just to their friends, said Merry Christmas, and in all publications and on television, and Christmas concerts became holiday or winter concert, and the word Christmas just kind of really went away out of the public square, other than just talking to your friend, saying, oh, I know you're a Christian, so Merry Christmas, because that's kind of what I'm hearing you say. Okay, well, if we did that, 25, 50 years from now, those generations coming up, that's not going to be their experience. And I have a feeling that joy that you're describing, the meaning will really be lost, because it really is about Christ. And I think that people don't, that really matters, that and it's not to say any of the Christians, and it was, last I checked, we're still a predominantly, obviously, Judeo-Christian society, let alone a Christian society, at least in the United States. So I don't know. I just feel really like you got to be real careful to all of a sudden stop using that word publicly, in print, in concert, in titles of events and things like that, because I think ultimately you could really lose what it's all about in the first place.
I hear what you're saying, and I'm not saying that we should ban it from the public, not at all. And some concerts, I think, if they're going to be just Christian, should, okay, then they call it a Christmas, go ahead, but you're not going to be including these other groups of people that you might really want to include. And then, of course, that town or whatever is going to have a Hanukkah festival and a Ramadan, but, if they want to be inclusive of their people. But now, here's something. Jesus didn't command us to say Merry Christmas. Christmas wasn't even a term for many years after he was resurrected, right? So Christmas, the word, is really not at the heart of what Christmas is really all about. And there's a lot of people there's been a lot of books written and a lot of people who talk about how, Jesus was probably actually born in September, but we celebrate Christmas in December because that's when these other winter holidays were taking place. And if we wanted to win other people over to Christianity, we needed to not rock their world so much that their special holiday was changed to a whole different time. So there's a lot of different reasons why we celebrate Christ's birth in December. And so, when we talk about it not being about Christ by not saying Christmas publicly, and like I said, again, I'm not saying that we shouldn't or that we couldn't. I think we're missing the mark. I really think that keeping Christ in Christmas is not about this man-made word. If it's about Christ, what did Christ say? Love one another, include one another, take care of each other. Those things are more Christian and Christmas than the word Christmas in my book. I think it's a sentimental place we're coming from when we feel like we got to just hold on to Christmas. And and I don't think that I don't think it is going away completely. I think we still see Christmas all over the place. I just sang a jingle, my carolers and I sang a jingle for this lighting company the other day. It was the 12 Days of Christmas. It's all over the place. You hear it on the radio waves. Many people think too early in the year now. So I don't think we're in any danger of the word Christmas going away from the public view. But I do think what we're in danger of is losing the true focus of Christmas.
Well,
and that's what
I do think, and we'll move on because I have a feeling we'll just agree to disagree.
Okay.
But I think that I mean, and I wish I had the stats for you because I've read them over the last number of years that the people who self-identify as Christian has consistently gone down in the United States, and people who attend Mass or any other type of, if you're Lutheran, Methodist, whatever, Catholic, whatever Christian religion or denomination or non-denominational, but Christian religion, that has also gone way down. I know myself. I'm Catholic, was raised Catholic, and still practice as a Catholic. And, it's way down. I mean, you see a lot of Catholic churches that have boarded up, especially in inner cities and so forth. So, and lots of other churches as well, Christian churches. So I personally think it does matter. I really do. I think that
you think it's not hearing Christmas. The word has to do with people turning becoming lukewarm about their faith.
I think in general, I think a society that kind of erodes, that's just one of lots of things. I think if it starts eroding, and I think it has over the last, 20, 30 years in particular, I think those kinds of things, the breakdown of the family in a lot of ways, less people going to church, identifying that, that's the pinnacle, or that's the kind of what holds people together and a community together. It's not even about what I think. The statistics do bear out. I'd have to look it up, but I guarantee it.
I know that you're right about the statistics about there being fewer people attending worship services and identifying as Christian. I know you're right about that, but I do disagree with you that it's about what I call the trappings of Christmas. It's interesting because the people who want to say keep Christ in Christmas, these days are the people who really want to have the word Christmas. They want to make sure that we have Christmas trees and Christmas trappings, the Christmas trappings. But their predecessors, the people back in history who wanted to keep Christ in Christmas, were really anti all of that stuff. So it's really kind of flip-flopped what keeping Christ in Christmas really meant. And back then, when so many people identified as Christian, back then, they were much more puritanical about it, really. I mean, that's probably the wrong word, but they didn't want to have what started out as pagan trappings. Christmas trees were, that was a German thing from a German god. What's it called? I forget his name. Mord. I had it this morning, but that was a German thing that got adopted. Having greenery in your house, that was something that was frowned upon if you were really Christian. I don't even think the word Christmas was invented when people first started observing the birth of Jesus, but it was much more about following Jesus back then. So it was a much purer way of celebrating the birth of Jesus. And of course, back then, it was much more important to celebrate the resurrection. And now we have both. Pretty much equal in our minds. But so my whole idea, I don't mind Christmas trees. There are still a lot of people who they frown on those trappings of Christmas. They're from the old school. I don't mind because like what I was talking about earlier with these spirit triggers, the good news is that we can reset them, and I think that resetting, assigning a deeper meaning to the way we celebrate, whether it's, examining what's in the word Christmas. That's so important to me. And why is it, let's be really honest with ourselves. Is it because it's a sentimental word, or is it because I truly feel that if you take Christ out of that particular title of this Inclusive Town event, that it'll be taking Christ out? And if that's true, why don't we actually go to that festival that's now called a winter festival and bring the Spirit of Christ there with us, share it that way. And they still have the carolers at these things, and you've got lyrics about Jesus all over the place during the holiday season. I'm here to tell you, every day, my carolers and I are out there singing about Jesus, as well as the non-holiday specific and the Hanukkah. So you can reset the meaning, just like when the Christmas tree came to Queen Victoria's home with her husband, and that was when the presses were beginning to cover such things, and Charles Dickens was writing at that time, and so suddenly the tree became a symbol of Christmas. And I was just looking this morning. I was reading about the "Oh Christmas Tree," that song. I was looking a little deeper into that, and really all of those words, "Oh Christmas Tree," they're about how we now look at the Christmas tree and see that it's got all sorts of reminders of the Lord of love and Jesus, and how God wants us to remember him. And so we've reassigned the meaning. So I don't have a problem with Christmas trees, because I think we look at it now and we think of what we want to think about at Christmas time. And we can do that with all sorts of our different spirit triggers.
So how did you end up getting involved in so heavily into Christmas? I know you have a kind of a theatrical background.
I do.
So is that just kind of, it was a progression from just kind of some of your acting or you just, tell me about that.
I have always loved Christmas. I mean, I had some challenges in my childhood. I don't dwell on them now, but I think they made me who I was. But when I was a little girl, I was very sad much of the year. But in the middle of the night during December, I would get up, and everyone was asleep, and I'd go into the living room and I'd plug in the tree lights, and I would just sit there. And I would look at the beautiful tree, and I'd see out the window. And I'm from Michigan. The lights on the tree reflected in the window, and the moon reflected off of the snow. And it was just so beautiful. And I would sit there and I would think about God, and I would think about the birth of Jesus. And I would think about, Santa Claus. There's somebody out there who loves me so much. He doesn't even know me really. And he comes down my chimney and he's got gifts for me. And it just made me, I was so wrapped in love during that time of year that it really did a lot for me. And so, and I loved going to, the late night Christmas masses. Even though it was dark and kind of quiet and not celebrated the same way in some of the other ones, I loved the mystery of that. I just really felt the spirit then. So, I was a singer, a close harmonizer growing up, and I always dreamed about going to New York City. And I got a degree in musical theater, and I came to New York City and dreamt about having this, a company of close harmony groups. But, I came to New York City. There was so much of what I called frown pollution everywhere to do. So I named this company I Smile in New York Productions. And SMILE is an acronym. It stands for Shine My Inner Light Everywhere. So really the name of my company is I Shine My Inner Light Everywhere in New York. And so that's what we strive to do. And of course, we never do it more than when we're out there caroling all over the city and in the tri-state area. But so it started out as a caroling company, and it just got bigger and bigger. And we just celebrated our 20th anniversary this past November. So it's our 21st year. So we've seen a lot of examples of holiday spirit, Christmas spirit. Did I mention my group is very diverse?
You did.
So we celebrate a lot. We recognize, people celebrating different holidays. We've gotten pretty good at recognizing, okay, they look like they want to hear some Hanukkah songs, or they look like Christmas carolers make them uncomfortable. Let's go to Let It Snow or Winter Wonderland, or, so we can kind of feel this group out, and you can see the difference it makes when you're including them, making them feel included in this joy and not like an outsider. And I think that is one of the keys to more peace in this world and more joy. And making Christmas look, like a celebration of the greatest gift of love God ever gave us, in my opinion.
So you go, your group goes and does all kinds of events,
Yeah. Oh,
caroling,
yes.
and people book you to do that all over the city,
Yes.
in
Yep. We're
Manhattan and so
all over the
forth.
city. We're in, you'll often see us at the New York Botanical Gardens. They've got this beautiful train show there, and there's an outdoor stage with microphones, and we get a huge group of people around us caroling and jingling bells and throwing requests at us of all different kinds. And so that's one place. In fact, you can find the schedule of our public events on our website. Can I give that? It's
Yes, yes, yep, absolutely.
www.ismileny.com, and under the schedule menu, you can see those. A lot of our events are actually private events, maybe they're country clubs, or sometimes we'll be greeting people at somebody's private party at their house. We'll be outside their door as they're coming in, and then we'll later on go into their living room and lead them in a sing-along. There's different restaurants and lots of, well, this Thursday. What's today? Today is Tuesday. Tuesday or Wednesday? Today's Wednesday.
Today's Wednesday.
Oh, this will be past though. Anyway, there's outdoor spaces like the Battery Park City tree lighting, or we did one in Sunnyside, Queens. We have another public event at the 34th Street Partnership, 33rd Street and 7th Avenue, where we're just outside. And the Lambs Club, every Saturday, that's on 44th Street in New York City, and we have a group that's not dressed in Victorian costumes. It's what I call our Currier and Ives look. So it's not so, jewel tones and Victorian era. It's more Edwardian, actually. But so every Saturday in December from 11 until 3, there are brunches at the Lambs Club, and every Sunday in December, there are Sunday suppers from 5 until 8, and we've got this particular group singing there, and on Christmas Day. So these are places you can go. The Miracle on Madison Avenue, every year we're caroling there in front of the participating merchants, and they kick back 20% or so to charity, usually the Children's Cancer Research Memorial Sloan Kettering. And that's really neat because on Madison Avenue, 20% of a day's sales are kind of huge. So this place is like that.
I've got a couple more questions for you because I
Okay.
see we actually talked quite a while now. How do you keep your voice strong? I'm just curious.
Oh, no, it's a really good question. And you'll often see singers with scarves around their neck, even when you would not expect them to have a scarf around their neck. So some singers do that. I don't usually need to unless it's actually really cold. But you drink lots of water. I definitely take more vitamin C in the wintertime. I mean, there are different products you can use if you feel phlegm. And we usually have lozenges on hand, but you have to be careful about overusing your voice. You don't want to go partying or screaming or singing in the car when you're competing with noises and things like that. So when it gets to be the thick of the season, when we're singing every day, maybe 2 or 3 events in a day, we'll be really quiet in between our sets and try to rest our voices, try to get enough sleep. You want to be careful what you eat and drink during these times. And sometimes people get sick. It's just a reality. And so sometimes I'll have to put a substitute caroler on,
Is the costume that you wear like you're wearing today, is that itchy? What's that made out of? Is it wool? I'm just curious.
This is more like brocade. We like brocade. That's a really nice material because it's sturdy and there's festive, variations on it. But yeah, we do have some that are wool, but they're not itchy. They've got lining, but they're a little bit on the roomy side, most of them, so that you can wear, long underwear under them or something, because we sing outside quite a bit. So we have to be able to wear layers underneath. And sometimes if we're outside on a really cold day, I'll put a wool cape over this. But we try to continue looking, Victorian or Edwardian or whatever. But sometimes we're singing inside a country club and you don't want to be sweating too much.
Yeah.
So we can't have them be built too warm. Be careful of how we treat our spirit triggers. And Christmas music is a really special spirit trigger because you've got this whole vibration going on and you vibrate with other people, and it's a powerful spirit trigger. And I would hate to have that reset. Like, I would hate to have people hear Good King Wenceslas and think about a fist fight at a mall.
Yeah, at Nordstrom's. Well, thank you. I want to thank you so much for this interview today. You've been a great sport and really informative. And before I close out, I want you, if you wouldn't mind, to sing a few bars of kind of your favorite inspiring Christmas tune.
That is Good King Wenceslas. I also I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day. Which one do you like better?
Either one, you pick.
Okay. Well, I'll do Good King Wenceslas because I'll tell you it's a true story. You know, do you like Good King Wenceslas?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a true story. He was a duke, not a king, while he was alive. And it was, he had a twin brother named Boleslas. And his father was killed in battle. He was the Duke of Bohemia. And so Wenceslas, who was born just a few minutes before his brother, became the Duke. And it's true that he loved Christmas, and he would always go out on the Feast of Stephen, the day after Christmas, with gifts of wine and fire fuel and blankets and meat to the poorest people. And he was always encouraging the richer people in his town to also look out after the poorer people. And even when the weather was frightful and his pages were telling him, just wait a day, let's go out on another day. He's like, nope, we're going out tonight. And so this is a true story. And when he was such a saint, and there's a lot more to say about it, but I'll cut it short, he was posthumously kinged. So he, after he died, was considered a king and still really revered. So that one goes, Good King Wenceslas looked out on the Feast of Stephen, when the snow lay round about, deep and crisp and even. Brightly shone the moon that night, though the frost was cruel, when a poor man came in sight, gathering winter fuel. That's the first verse.
Very nice. That was beautiful. That was really nice. I could never do that in a million years. That's
well, at least
awesome.
you like to listen to it.
Oh, absolutely. And I just want to thank you so much. I think I still like Thanksgiving as the best holiday for me because I just get to eat. No tree, no presents, no nothing but food.
And communing with others.
Yes. So the same kind of Christmas spirit without all the rest. But but you've been great, and I really enjoy your singing, and hopefully people will check you out. So it sounds like they can go to ismilenewyork.com.
Yes.
It's I Smile NY. So it's not New York written out. It's I Smile NY, and it's I Smile NY Productions, correct?
Well, the simplest website address is ismileny.com, but you can also look up I Smile in NY or I Smile in New York Productions. They all work.
So take your pick, and you can Google it. I have a feeling, and you can Google Renee, and it's spelled RENAE Baker. Mm-hmm. So you can also Google Renee Baker that way if you're interested. And again, I just want to thank you so much. And this wraps up this episode of the Pitbull Patti Show. Make sure that you take time to map out your life, have a plan, because those who fail to plan to fail. So until next time, we'll see you, and thanks, Renee.
Thank you, Patty.